the Latin America analyst Javier Farque. Javier, your reaction?
Well, it's shocking. It's never happened in Ecuador before. We had two assassinations in Latin America of Luis Carlos Galán in 1989 in Colombia and President Luis Donaldo Colosio in 1994 in Mexico. Never happened in Ecuador. However, insecurity has been increased, has gone up since President Lasso took over in 2021. Now, just after the assassination of Mr. Villavicencio, members of his party or the movement called the Construct Movement denounced, I have just read in the social media and in their page, denounced attacks, armed attacks to the campaign offices in Quito, Ecuador. Now, 12 days ago, as it's been mentioned before, Mr. Villavicencio had denounced that he had been threatened. They've been threats after he denounced this Tito, this leader of this criminal gang. They immediately suspended the campaign at the moment. The police started to investigate, but he went back to the campaign trail and decided to continue his denunciation of mafias, and that. So far, based on what we know so far, these are early days, it seems to me that the mafia might have something to do with this assassination. Obviously, it's been shocking in Ecuador. It doesn't happen in Ecuador, but it has not surprised people because, as I said to you, security has gone really down since President Lasso took over in 2021. He addressed the nation just after the assassination of Mr. Villavicencio, and he issued two decrees. One, 3 days of national mourning, and second, that the election will continue. They will not suspend this election. Also, it was mentioned that Agustin Intriago, the mayor of Manta, he had been assassinated. Actually, Mr. Villavicencio was told to suspend his campaign as a result of the assassination of this mayor who would have been killed by this mafia. He decided not to do that, and he continued with his campaign. His assassination might be the result of this determination Mr. Villavicencio had to continue with his campaign. This is a shocking event in Ecuador. I've been there many times for work and other reasons, and I've never seen anything like this before. All the candidates condemned this. President Rafael Correa, who was a target of Mr. Villavicencio during his campaign as an anti-corruption journalist, he condemned this murder.
Javier, Tito, this gentleman who Villavicencio says threatened him, is supposed to be a member of a Mexican drug cartel. Is that correct?
Yes.
So Mexico in Central America and Colombia in South America, probably the two countries most famous for people who are outside of Latin America as the centers of the drug trade in that part of the world. Yes. Where does Ecuador fit into that? I mean, where do the narcotraficantes gain their influence in Ecuador when Colombia and Mexico are the two main centers?
Ecuador, together with Peru and Bolivia, are the main sources of the raw material for cocaine, the coca leaf. They grow there, and many mafias have laboratories within the jungle where they process and create the cocaine, which is later exported to Europe and the United States. So the presence of these gangs is to have access to the raw material, which is grown in parts of the Amazon and parts of the highlands in Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia, to have access to the raw material that they use to produce the cocaine. Also, they use the Pacific Ocean, the Pacific coast, as a route of this sort of trade, because other routes have already been stopped by the police in other parts of Latin America. So Ecuador is a crucial element, not only as a route of the cocaine, but also as a source of raw material for the manufacturing of cocaine. And some of these labs are inside the Amazon. You know, Ecuador has a huge Amazonian sort of region. So that's why this cartel have been moving towards South America. In Central America is mainly root, but South America is basically the coca leaf, the raw material they use to produce cocaine. That's the reason why they are entering these countries with total impunity, seems, judging by what's happened recently. Again, we don't know exactly if the mafia was behind this, but it looks for all the evidence that he was killed by probably drug cartels.
Javier Farque, thanks very much indeed for the analysis.